I was literally trying to make a rooster pun and I couldn't come up with one. I was about to be like the big rooster, and it just didn't happen. I wanted to riff.
It's clucking awesome.
I
think I can say that.
This episode has children in it, okay? We can't be swearing, Ariel.
Yeah, what the cluck? What the cluck?
Hey everyone, and welcome to Another Bite, the show where we rewatch some of the greatest and, well, the most intriguing pitches from Shark Tank. I'm Ariel Boswell, and I'm joined by Jon Dick.
Hello.
And Leslie Green.
Hey, y'all.
This week we have a tasty food spread named like a distasteful dating app, a creative mother-daughter duo's Marker Parker, and more. But first, an entrepreneur whose dreams of European farms, you could say, flew the coop. But before we get into all that, we got bills to pay. So, as they say, a word from our sponsor.
You know it, we know it. Next year is creeping up quick. If you want to win inside your niche in 2024, you need tech that puts you in the pilot seat. The new HubSpot Sales Hub will help you close out the year strong and kickstart your success in 2024. Teams can collaborate on every inch of the customer journey and keep operations running smoothly with comprehensive prospecting workspace and powerful sales analytics tools that keep data connected across teams. And with over 1,400 integrations, there's a ton of ways to mix in new features. So finish out Q4 strong and gear up for the new year with HubSpot Sales Hub. Learn more at hubspot.com/sales.
First up in the tank is Over Easy. Over Easy is an easy-to-ship, easy-to-assemble backyard chicken coop. They have 4 different sizes, ranging from 5 to 20 chickens, and they range from $1,900 to $1,100, depending on the size. It was introduced to us by Chet Byler, who is also a native pun speaker. I don't know if either one of you noticed throughout his initial pitch. He had some really great puns that he threw out there. But here's the kicker. He's asking for 4% equity for $1 million, coming out to a $25 million valuation.
As the shark said when he said that, oh! You don't get a strong reaction from the sharks that early, that often. But asking for $1 million for 4% got that kind of reaction.
I feel like this is one of the few pitches where I've seen for such little equity asking for so much capital up front.
That's a big boy valuation right there.
Yeah. So Leslie, Jon, what were some of your initial reactions on the Over Easy chicken coop and the product itself?
I was literally trying to make a rooster pun and I couldn't come up with one. I was about to be like the big rooster, and it just didn't happen. I wanted to riff. It's clucking
awesome. I think I can say that.
This episode has children in it, okay? We can't be swearing, Ariel.
Yeah, what the cluck? What the cluck? These chickens are living a life of luxury. I just want to put it out there. These chicken coops are beautifully made. I could see them getting designed, upgraded, remodeled. I really like it. I'm in.
Amish County chicken coops are indeed beautiful. Listen, for backyard chickens to take off, we're not just talking about chicken wire wrapped around some boards. Backyard chickens to take off have to really look the look. People want a swing set in their backyard. They want a little pool, and they want their chicken coop that looks beautiful and it's right out of a storybook. And that's what Over Easy Chicken Coops does.
Yeah.
I love the branding of Over Easy Chicken Coops. I think it has some nuance to it with the idea that it's easy to do, but it clearly ties to eggs. The benefit of it being easy to do and the lifestyle look and feel of it that everybody's looking for. So it's kind of the whole package from a branding perspective.
Yeah. I was actually a little confused. For me, when I heard Over Easy, I initially was just oh, this is going to be a fun product to make eggs in. I think once we got into it, it started to make more sense. But when I first heard it, I was this is definitely going to be one of the weirdest ways to cook eggs.
Leslie, did it remind you of the wake and bacon?
It did. Honestly, maybe I was just having a little PTSD to the wake and bake.
Yeah. I was not confused by the brand. Right off the bat, I got it. So good to know there's some confusion there. It's not Want a Date, which we'll talk about next, where there really was confusion. That was part of the whole pitch. This one, to me, was a little more straightforward.
Yeah. So let's get into some of the numbers here. So Chet said overall gross profit margins were at 36%, which is really impressive to see. 21 million in lifetime sales and 9 million in sales year to date. I think you mentioned within the last 6 months, they grew about 24%, which is pretty huge. I feel like those initially looked pretty nice for kind of what he was coming in to ask for.
So I'll challenge a little bit on the gross margins, Ariel. I think the gross margins are lower than they need to be for him to really succeed over time.
Really?
Because, your gross margins don't include all your sales and marketing costs and a whole bunch of other expenses that are going to be required. And I have a feeling that it is actually going to get harder and harder to acquire customers for backyard chicken coops over time. I think the pandemic hit, a whole bunch of things happened where people wanted this. And I would imagine we're going to actually start easing into the long tail here. And he's going to have to probably spend a lot more to acquire each customer. And I'm nervous that his price point is set too low, actually, like relative to the cost to produce. And he's either got to find a way to bring the cost to produce down or raise the price to get a higher gross margin so he can pay more for customer acquisition, because his net margins are like 12 to 15% right now, which you could say, okay, maybe that's fine. But I'm not sure over time that they'll stay there. I think, from here, any costs that go up just will hit his net margin on the bottom line, and that'll be pretty tough for him.
And then also, too, the behavior of like people moving away from spending so much time at home versus during the pandemic where they had nothing to do. So, of course, it's like, let's raise chickens. That's the best thing we can do right now. Whereas now people are like traveling again. A lot of people are actually considering moving back to this like cities.
Yeah. Everyone tried out the country life. And most people were like, I really want to go out to brunch. And I want like a $40 Balthazar omelet, right? Like that's what people are suddenly wanting.
I actually looked when we moved into our house. I looked at like the zoning rules for chickens. Like I live in a fairly, big city. Austin's a big city, but I looked at the zoning rules and, it's actually pretty lenient. Like I was surprised. Like I can have chickens in my city backyard if I want to have them. And I think something like this would keep them comfortable, quiet, calm. So if I ever get chickens, like I would actually look into this.
I think the one point that I found really interesting was just how subtly it started off that Chet was talking about Europe. And then over time, how that grew in particular.
We will expand to Europe, where the interest in backyard chickens is even stronger than in the United States.
Chet, you're one crazy chicken.
Well, it's just like, I think what he had analyzed is that there is a market for backyard chicken coops in Europe. And that felt very exciting to him. But I'm not sure that he had gone through all of the process of trying to figure out like, oh, okay, like how will I produce these there? What will it cost to produce them there? How do I source all my materials there? How do I do quality control there? Europe is not a market. Europe is lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of markets with lots of languages. We deal a lot with how do you translate phrases into different cultures. Of course, like one of the arts of marketing is finding, phrases that really resonate with your market and communicate things. That's why I like the name of the company so much in English. Like, I don't know what you'd call it in French. I don't know what an over easy egg is called in French, but it probably wouldn't have nearly the same ring to it, So I think it actually is going to be a lot more difficult. And I'm not sure the market he's treating it as kind of just like a homogenous plug and play market. And I think it's actually a pretty diverse and heterogeneous market. And therefore, like, I think he'd focus on conquering the US first.
What I found really interesting was that he decided to bring Robert back in, who's been out, mind you, for over 15 minutes of the pitch. And he keeps focusing on Robert, which is really interesting because I've never seen someone like, usually you have someone come in, they have their favorite shark or they have like an idea in mind of who they want to work with. But for some reason, Chet was just really sold on Robert in that moment and really trying to push the idea of Europe and bring him back in to the point where I believe he even said, I know you're out, but I'm going to bring you back in.
I think he just wanted more airtime. He's like, I gotta milk this for everything that it is and try to just like cause a little chaos while I'm here.
Well, not only did he bring Robert back in, but Robert, when he was out, he had one of the most cutting lines I've heard in a long time. He was like,
let me tell you this.
Look,
Robert, listen.
The most valuable thing in my life is my time. I don't want to spend it learning about your business. I'm out.
Like, that's how he like dropped out. And so for him to bring Robert back in such a bold way, I was like, Oh, that's a power move right there. Very unexpected. That is straight out of Amish country, I guess. I don't know. And it kind of wreaked havoc with the sharks. Like, it disrupted the whole flow. All the sharks, like, it was like, I didn't realize there was this like shark code that like once someone's out, like you leave them out and you focus on who's in. And it like the sharks were like upset by it. They were like, he's out, I'm in. What is this?
Yeah. Shark code.
Yeah. And I think we saw that with Kevin too, because Kevin actually rescinds his offer, even though Chet said, yeah, verbally, I accept it. But there was a little bit of that like, oof, why aren't you like paying attention to the offers that you actually have on the table?
Yeah.
Which I think, good on Kevin. So as we know, Kevin pulled the offer. Chet walked away empty-handed. So now it's time for our favorite segment. Is it still a company?
I feel strongly that it is. I don't know.
It's gotta be
I feel
company.
very strongly that it is.
Do you think that they were able to ship out to Europe and reach that market?
My guess is that they may have launched in Europe, but I cannot imagine that they actually had the capital to meaningfully fund it. Sounds like, given the margins that he had, he actually was like running like really tight. He was taking out loans just to basically deal with all of his accounts payable to have enough money to run the business. So it's not like he was like actually turning out much cash here. So I don't think he had the capital to meaningfully go into Europe. I also don't think that, I did a little look up here. What does anyone know any other languages?
I'm
Not
on like
fluently.
a pretty strong streak on Duolingo, if that impresses anybody. I'm about to hit my year in Spanish.
For one language. Well, okay, so I looked up how to say over easy in French. I took French in high school.
okay.
So you ready?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Sur un oeuf facile. Let's try it in
sounds
Spanish.
Like facile is
Beautiful.
easy in Spanish.
Sobrejevo.
Yeah, sobre facile.
That's not going to translate. No one's buying a sobre facile coop.
Well, cluck your heels together because the chickens are still in the coop and they've got friends.
Oh
They've
my gosh.
They've expanded their SKUs to sheds, chicken runs, and more. So since the episode was recorded in 2021, they ended the year with 19 million in sales, and their net worth is estimated to be between 5 million to 10 million. I did look up on their direct-to-consumer site to see if I could ship a chicken coop to Germany. And at this point in time, it is not an option. So although Chet left the tank empty-handed, he must be laughing his way to the bank with the excellent sales. So next up in the tank are Want a Date, which is a line of date-based spreads that are natural, vegan, and allergen-free, and they come in a series of flavors such as chocolate, vanilla, cinnamon, and pumpkin spice. And the best part, if anyone is keto-friendly like me, they're only 30 calories per serving. We have Melissa Bartow. She's a recent graduate from NYU. She's asking for $100,000 for a 20% stake, which comes out to a $500K valuation. So Leslie, I know that you are into very mindful health and fitness, or at the very least, your aesthetic strikes me as so.
Depends on the day. let's not oversell this. I'm like a 60-40 kind of gal. Like, we love the unhealthy food too, but I was really excited about this. I've actually never heard of a date spread. Dates are really wonderful as like a sweet tooth. They have a lot of fiber. Just kind of keep them around as that midnight snacky kind of thing. So I was like, oh my God, that's genius. During the pitch itself, she was coming out with that play on words, and that really caught my attention. I was hoping that we weren't going to see like a coffee meets bagel moment where it was another dating app.
I had my first date just 3 years ago during college. And let me tell you, I've had a lot of dates ever since.
I thought it was a dating app.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, not this again. Like, I don't want to talk about dating today. But then when she flipped it on her head and then showed the date and banana sandwich, that looked so good. So good.
The food looked good. I was so turned off by her saying the words "want a date" about 47 times in rapid succession. It like caused I got stiff and I went back in my chair. I don't know why, but she was like, this is the want to date this, want to date, 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 want to date. And I was like, oh no, leave me alone.
You'll never
It's a
forget the
sprint
name
recall.
though. Yeah, you'll never forget the name.
Now it's stuck in your head, you know.
She needed a good pun line, though, around why doesn't she have a plain date? It's because the flavored are gateway dates.
This group.
You always can count on me for the great marketing ideas. I'm going to send that one to her for free.
I would at least charge for your services. As the sharks are kind of going in through the numbers, they ask a really important question, which is around like, how does she support herself in New York with 31K in sales, which she uncovers, you know, her dad is supporting her primarily and having family funding. Curious to know from you two, what are your thoughts when it comes to having kind of family funding or having those, you know, near you kind of providing a lot of your funds for the means of your business as opposed to, you know, the entrepreneur that, you know, kind of has their back against the wall and this is their all or nothing business?
My hot take is it just felt like it was unnecessary to like use that against her. I completely understand like Barbara's point of like, your motivation might be different if this is like basically a rent or be on the street situation. Like that does change your mentality. But I think her dad is, you know, like doing what most parents would do if they were able to do it and supporting and making sure that, you know, she's going to college. She shouldn't be like looked against because she had that buffer. It's definitely something to take into consideration when you're looking at any entrepreneur. But I don't know, for me, Barbara just felt like she was just felt unhelpful and kind of like distracting from why we were there.
What is in your way, I believe, is that your father is helping you. Because succeeding is an option versus a necessity. And I found that the people that really succeed have a real necessity. They have to do it or the sky's going to fall in.
I got so mad at the hypocrisy of this.
Bring it, John. Yeah. I'm ready.
I got so mad. If she had just said, I actually did $100,000 friends and family round to fund my business and I'm taking a salary from it, everyone would have been like, oh, way to use your connections.
Yeah,
instead, she's like, yeah, my dad's supporting me. And everyone's like, you don't want it enough. Like, you're not willing to like live on the street. It's like,
you're not ready for the tank.
It made me really mad. And it just like, it just felt like a cop-out. It felt like the truth is she doesn't have a business yet. She's sold $31,000 of date spread, and she's worked her butt off to do it. But that's not a business. She sold 2,600 jars at farmers markets. And a couple people have gone to her website to buy them. Like, Barbara's not interested because it's not a business, and she blamed it on, like, you don't want it enough. And it just felt icky to me.
That kind of trickled down too to some of the other sharks as well. Lori started asking about market research, and, you know, Melissa came back and said, hey, you know, people have no idea what they want. We haven't done any formal research. So she was out, Damon was out, and then, you know, Barbara specifically saying succeeding is an option, not a necessity for entrepreneurs, which I thought was a fair quote, even if I don't necessarily agree with her reasons for pulling out. But yeah, so all that she was kind of left with was Mark and Kevin towards the end.
Yeah. Okay. Thoughts on this. So number one, I actually think Damon had a really important point, which is I'm really nervous that people aren't going to buy date spread if you're not there to pitch them on it. And I don't know how she's going to overcome that. I actually think like if she's going to take money from investors to scale her date spread business, like she's going to need a point of view on how she can like scale it, not at farmers markets. Like she's going to have to get meaningful distribution on it and spend a lot of money and do a lot of marketing on the power of dates. Like she's like, I want to transform the role of dates in the world into the next superfood. That sounds really expensive to me. Or she's got to be super social savvy, and it's got to be about like superfoods and lifestyle and dates, not her date spread. She's either got to run an educational sale about superfoods and healthy living, at which dates is that thing you need to empower it, or she needs, have a much better distribution plan for getting her date jars places.
Yeah. My recommendation for Melissa is really like find the PR person for kale. Whoever that person is who made kale cool over the past like 5-10 years, and just like figure it out together, because it really is like you look at any food that comes in and out of trends, whether it's like they were talking about like avocado, cauliflower, it's presented in a unique and novel way, like cauliflower crust for pizza, and that's what gets consumers excited. And so if you see in the marketplace, the spread being used in ways that you may normally use peanut butter or other spreads, and kind of trying to look at it as like a healthier alternative or replacement. I think that positioning could be really, really powerful. But yeah, we got to get the kale, whoever the lead rep for kale is, on the line.
You can't crack big kale. Big kale's full of shadow money, Leslie. You'll never find out who's pushing big kale behind the scenes.
Or banana bread during the pandemic. Whoever was pushing that too, the banana bread during pandemic. Those food PR people are keeping busy.
Yeah.
And I actually think there's a lot of really niche markets, like myself having a peanut allergy and wanting an alternative for a spread, or people who are trying to find ways to incorporate, healthier foods into their diet that may not. So I actually think if they could get the marketing done right, whether that's through like UGC showing this off, or, really just kind of leaning into that super niche targeted market, I actually think she wouldn't have to do as much explaining, just leave the rest like on the product packaging. But that's just my 2 cents.
I think you're right about that. The difference between like whipped coffee on TikTok and banana bread and kale is that those aren't brand name things that you're trying to sell a specific brand of a thing. And so the challenge for her is she's got no distribution on this product other than a couple of farmers markets in New York and a website. Like, if she goes out and tries to make dates into this huge category, she's not ready because she can't fulfill it and distribute it all. So I think she's a little stuck in the middle there. And I think that's actually the reason that most of the sharks ended up being out, except for Mark, who gave a pity offer.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. She could have partnered with Tinder during like 2020 and like for Wanna Date have like date spreads, like flights that you could try out for virtual dates. Just saying, great like partnership opportunity that was missed.
Hear me out. We've talked about keto. You remember Vinny from Jersey Shore? He has like rebranded himself as like the Keto Guido. What about a wanna date with the Keto Guido, and then we bring them together?
Because he's single.
For her, I think the opportunity really is like in that influencer space and getting this product in the hands of people who can do more creative things with it than she can do.
100%.
She probably won't be able to fulfill it if that happens.
Yeah, I don't think she's ready for it. I think that's actually the whole point. I don't think she's anywhere close to being ready to go big here. She doesn't really have a business yet. She's not ready to actually mobilize it. One thing we didn't talk about that needs to be mentioned is Mr. Wonderful's side comment about the Bedouins.
Yes.
And the chamomile and living off of dates. Fun fact.
Like,
is
out
this
of
a
nowhere,
lifestyle? Well, yeah.
Out of nowhere, in the middle of her pitch, Mr. Wonderful's like, I need to interrupt you for a minute. Dates are a superfood, and in fact, Bedouins have sustained themselves on dates in the desert for centuries.
How do you know that, Mr. Wonderful?
What?
Right. Is that a side hustle? Maybe he's a secret foodie deep down inside. Who knows?
I wanted to look that up as soon as you said it, because I was just like, random, but... And
it wasn't just about dates. It was clearly about the Bedouins, because he knew about dates and chamomile. Not just dates, not just chamomile. He could be a tea guy, a spread guy, or a Bedouin guy. I think he's a Bedouin guy.
I'm deep in a hole of the benefits of having dates with milk now, so we can follow up next episode.
I feel like this episode has covered so much on Another Bite, right? We talked about parenting hacks. We've now had a little bit of a history lesson. We're learning about business, covering all the areas, but
all the important stuff.
Yeah, this is a very small, very early on, company. So Mark offered Melissa $100K for a 33% stake on the condition that there is a plain date flavor. And as we know, Melissa made the deal with Mark. So is this still a company? Do we still think Wanna Date is still around?
Oh, yeah.
I think it is. I wanted her to counter so bad. I hated when she was just like, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I was just like, no, like counter, like just come back with it. Don't say anything.
I wanted her to be more fierce throughout. Like I wanted her to go at Barbara and be like, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like she took the opposite path, which was like to get really emotionally vulnerable about it instead of being like, screw you for judging me. Like,
yeah.
It was the same with Mark. She should have pushed. I want $250,000 for 20%. You know?
Lori was like, you can do it, and I think that's just like an interesting when you think about like the psychological side of it, like the entrepreneurs that just like they know their stuff so well, they know what they're gonna say as a counter offer before they even get an offer. Like they have it ready to go. And I think she got a little just like caught off guard there. I mean, she was super excited to get the deal, but this is just one of those moments where like her as like a younger entrepreneur, I just wanted her to be like, come back with a counter. The worst thing they can do is say no, but don't like second guess yourself in front of them.
Right. So here's an update we can get behind. The dates are still spreading the love. So contrary to Keepin's statement of too many flavors, they've actually expanded their flavor line to include cookie and, yes, the original date spread as promised to Mark. But not only that, they've introduced date dough in snickerdoodle, chocolate brownie, and birthday cake, which all sound delicious. The products are in 128 grocery stores, including Whole Foods, particularly in the Midwest regions. And as of 2022, the company has made $4.7 million in lifetime sales. And they plan to expand into more states across the nation. So keep an eye out for the date you've been dreaming of.
I love this for her. I'm so happy.
I do too.
Yeah, me too. That guy just ate 40 rotisserie chickens in 40 days. I don't know if you saw that guy. I want someone to do that with the dates. That should be her push. She should just have someone live entirely off dates for like a year and see how it goes.
The date challenge. The Bedouin challenge.
Oh, that would be sick.
That'd be a good trend. Last up in the tank, we have Big B, Little B. This is from the most recent season, so aired in October of 2022. And we have guest shark Emma Grede, who is the CEO of Good American. For those that aren't familiar, Good American is a clothing company. She co-founded it with Khloe Kardashian. But let's talk about Big B, Little B. They are an innovative tools for kids and keeping them mess free. So it's a series of different products that they offer specifically for kids and really for moms that are tired of picking up dried up markers. So we have a mother-daughter duo, Amy Lineback and Marlo Lineback, who is 7.5 years old. They're asking for $100,000 for 20% equity, which comes out to a $500K valuation. As they came out, they introduced their Marker Parker item, which was specifically focused around no more markers rolling on the floor, no more lost marker caps, and no more dried out markers. And they have a number of different SKUs based on the sizing of the markers that sell for $15 and $2.70 for production.
I was so excited about the psychological experiment I was about to watch, which is, can the sharks, who are pitched as the meanest group of people, say no in the nicest way possible to the cutest, bravest little entrepreneur that's ever come across the screen?
I know. I hated that. I
think that
this
was
episode.
intentional.
Like, I felt terrible. I was like, you're a monster. I said that to myself. I was like, you're a monster. You're a shark. Because it was just like, oh my God, I was so
the
proud
whole thing
of
made me,
her.
I was having very strange reactions watching. I kept having to pause. I was like laughing uncontrollably. I like cried at one point. I was like, what is happening to me? This is like throwing me on an emotional roller coaster right now. Give her some money.
I know. I was like, please just pick her stuff and make it happen. I can't watch this anymore because it was just like, I don't know. For me, it was like the roller coaster of like, what am I actually watching? Like, I feel like we grow to get accustomed to this like very tight, well-delivered pitch. I mean, I think the way that she had, you know, her daughter included was just so perfect. Like, yeah, and how much does it cost per thing to make? Like, she knew it and she was doing such a good job, but it was just like, it just kept getting more and more confusing as it went. And then when I finally realized like, oh, they have like 4 other products, like what exactly are we here for? We were just on a roller coaster for Big B, Little B.
Interesting too, when they went to the multiple products, I would have wished that the pitch came out and they're like, this is our like invention company and these are all the products that we have, and as opposed to coming out to the Marker Parker item. I think I literally went back to like the notes that I have written here and I was like, is this the right company? What's Big B, Little B? Because I think I'm looking at Marker Parker, but I'm not 100% sure.
I was very confused too.
Yeah,
I think you were right, Ariel. I think she mispositioned the whole thing. I think she should have said, we are a children's cleanup product innovation company with a whole series of products, and we are here to show you our newest product and give you the chance to invest before we take it to market.
Yeah, I like that. Like how to like kind of keeping your kids clean. That feels like it makes a lot more sense to me because I was actually really interested in when she talked about the Scrubby, I think is what it's called, the Scrubby.
Yep.
Like that was made a lot more sense in my mind. Like the marker holder is cool. I love organization, but I couldn't really see the use. But I love those little like antimicrobial scrubbers because I think washcloths are disgusting. I think those other scrubby poofs are gross. So I was like, the bee
loofah?
thing, the loofah. Loofahs
You don't like the
gross me
loofah,
out.
Leslie?
Loofahs gross me out, and washcloths gross me out too. Like, to use them, to reuse them. Like, obviously a fresh washcloth, but like, so when she brought that up and then also said, I think 80% of the sales were actually from the scrubby, I was like, why are we hearing about the scrubby? Why are we hearing about the little like marker honeycomb? Could we shift gears perhaps?
I'm not sure anything quite dates somebody, by the way, to be like part of the late 1990s generation, like the loofah. You know, that was really that. Like, if Shark Tank had been around then, it definitely would have been a Shark Tank product. Like, you could see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My mom is the only one I think in my life who uses the loofah.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone's mom was using the loofah. There was loofahs everywhere. There were
I
loofahs
use
all
the
over the
loofah.
place.
Ariel uses the loofah.
Just for bath occasions. Like, at bath time, I love a loofah versus shower. Like, it's all about the experience. But the Scrubby Easy Grip silicone scrubber, technically, Leslie, yeah, it was 80% of sales overall. And I think, to your point, if they would have came out strong saying, this is our hero product and here's like some new innovation that we have along the way, could have been a little bit more of a cleaner pitch. But looking into some of the numbers, last year they made $230,000 worth of sales. And again, that majority of that came from the scrubby silicone scrubber. The difficulty that they're facing really is around the quality, manufacturing, supply chain, kind of a lot of the important, crucial pieces that you need for a lot of inventions.
Lot of problems.
Yeah, a little bit. And year to date, they've been making $110,000, and they've actually lost a fortune this year, which I thought was a very interesting story that Amy was starting to go into.
Yeah, that was like the big error of the episode was she said, please don't ask me about this year. Can you imagine going to an investor, asking for money, and then just saying like, I would actually not like to discuss how much money I've made in the most recent year. Like, what?
Yeah, this is where I feel like her story was so much more complex than it needed to be. And I felt for her because seems like actually what was happening was she had a really successful product that was going really well. She had a bunch of like manufacturing, quality, supply chain issues that basically like put it out of stock forever. She lost all of her momentum on it. She had started to introduce new products in the mix, and then her brave, sweet little daughter comes along and is like, Mama, I want to invent this. And she's like,
I have a new idea.
Shit, I gotta support this. And so now she's in debt and she's got no money. And she has clearly no time to figure out her finances because she's parenting and running this business and inventing new products, which parenting alone and working is hard enough. So I had a lot of empathy for her because I think she's got some really interesting products and she just needs a bit of narrative and business help and investment to try and get things back on track.
Yeah, I think I just thought to myself, like, that debt that she's taken on, I'm like, that could be a college fund. Like,
yeah, $100K.
Yeah, we need to send our budding entrepreneur to college and have her, like, revive this Little B, Big B product line.
Yeah, and I think that was the point where Kevin started to pull out. And then Amy, I think she tries to kind of save the pitch a little bit and hints at a new product, which is the food container. But what was meant to excite the sharks, I feel like did the complete opposite of what she intended to do. The sharks weren't super excited by the food container. I think Mark called out at one point that she has inventoritis, which he says, quote, is one of the worst entrepreneurial traits, unquote. So Mark was out. I think, next we kind of see Lori and Emma bringing up some good points, like kind of what we mentioned around it was a little bit unclear, ambiguous, like in her overall pitch and how scattered it felt. But then Robert got to the point where he said, hey, I was going to make an offer until you started showing me about more products.
Why did he do that? That was like, honestly... Like, it's just better to have just been like, no, we're all out. But he's like, I would have done this if you had just stopped talking about the other
because they're all going to be perceived as monsters for being mean. This is this masterstroke of this woman. And I will just tell you, I don't think she needed the shark money. I bet her sales have popped because everybody in America was like, what a bunch of jerks.
We must support the bees.
Yeah, we'll go support the bee lady. Like, let's go buy. I bet she has sold a ton since this episode aired. I think mission accomplished for her. I think that alone could get her on a path to getting out of debt.
Well, there was a little bit of some drama after the tank, considering that this episode aired only a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, Amy has received tons of backlash from online haters, anywhere from attacking her as a mother, claiming that she's exploiting her child, and even so far as going to attacking her daughter, Marlo, and calling her names. Amy actually posted a TikTok video a couple days ago in response to the online attack.
I was not prepared for them to attack me as a mother. I was not prepared for people to say I was exploiting my child. I was certainly not prepared for people attacking my kid herself and calling her names. And the online bullying needs to stop. It needs to stop. What's it gonna take?
Just in tears from online bullying and just how difficult it has been for her emotionally since this segment aired.
I hate the internet.
I hate the internet.
What's wrong with you people?
Like, don't attack children.
Yeah, I hate that. And I hate that, like, she had to get to the point where she was, like, needing to address it. I mean, the sad part is like any of that press is good press, and it probably helped her sales. Not that I'm happy that it's at the expense of her or her daughter's emotional well-being, but I don't know. I really wish the best for them. I think like if they can get a little more focused, they can get some better marketing. I feel like they can at least have this as something they do together, and I'd be really excited to see in like 10, 15 years what our child entrepreneur will be up to.
Yeah, I hope Marlo makes it big and is like the next greatest entrepreneur that anyone has ever seen, just to show all the haters.
Yeah.
She's like, I'll show you this marker holder is amazing.
Yeah.
I think the challenge there is like, is this something she wants or is this something her mother wants? And I think that's the thing that people call into question. And lots of parents push their kids for things that they want, not what their kids want, and end up forcing them into situations that have real consequences for their life. And I'm sure that's what some of the backlash was around. But the number one job that kids want is to be a YouTube influencer. That's the number. I'm not kidding.
Unboxing videos. That's their biggest thing.
That's what every kid wants in the world. And like, I don't know, like, I think it's amazing that she found a path to get her daughter that exposure, because I'm sure her daughter really wanted it, and did it in a way that doesn't actually sacrifice on her. It's nothing but positive vibes for her long term from here. She's not like, a child TV star for the rest of her life. Like she's, like she was on a Shark Tank episode.
Yeah. Marlo's going to make the products that get unboxed. We'll leave it at that.
So to round out our episode today, who would we say won the episode? Was it a certain shark, certain entrepreneur, or maybe a particular chicken?
I'm going to say Wanna Date won. And the reason she won is I don't think she has a business at all. And now she doesn't yet.
Savage.
She might someday. And she's hustling. She's working for it. I got nothing but respect. I don't think I've ever worked that hard to grow a business like she is doing. She's lugging those jars everywhere. But she doesn't really have a business yet. She sold 2,600 jars of dates, and now she has a deal with Mark Cuban and is part of his Shark Tank portfolio. I think that's a huge win for her, and I hope she kicks butt.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think definitely the Wanna Date is the winner for me too.
Yeah. That's my honest answer, but my funny answer is probably the chickens. These chickens are living the nicest lives that anyone could ever imagine. Like the fact that we have like essentially like Airbnb for chickens, luxury chicken coops. I love that for them.
Today's episode is written and produced by Matthew Brown. If you like what you hear, even if you don't like what you hear, follow and subscribe to the show. But smashing that subscribe or follow button is really the most helpful thing a beautiful person like yourself can do for the show. Or send us free products. I mean, that's great. Also love a free trinket. Okay, we'll see you in the tank next week for another bite.
Whoa! Who knew?
Ariel out of nowhere was just like, oh, by the way, another bite. And we were like, oh!
No.